Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. Today, the podcast will be without a guest, and I will be sharing with you some of the surprising science behind leaky skin and what we can do about it. We're going to go over defining what is leaky skin, the factors that contribute to leaky skin, the science behind leaky skin, how to strengthen our skin barrier, and we will also look at practical tips for skin health, things that we can do in general, not only specifically in the skin, but tips for maintaining overall skin health. And we are going to summarize everything together. So I'm very excited about this podcast. It's one of the things that here in Young Goose we are looking at the most when we look at let's say a comprehensive skincare routine. And today you will find out exactly why we are obsessed with leaky skin and your skin barrier. Before we dive into today's episode, I first want to share a review from one of our valued Biohacking Beauty listeners. So this is by Jake, saying, "I've been listening to this podcast for the past year, and I must say it's been my favorite podcast to listen to. So much knowledge about biohacking. Must listen." Yeah, so if you haven't done so already, we would greatly appreciate it if you could take 2 seconds out of your day to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. A one-word review would be amazing. Your rating and reviews greatly help the growth of this podcast, which helps us educate more people and create impact in their lives. So I would really appreciate if you would do that. But okay, now let's get into our podcast. So as I said before, today I will be taking a closer look at the issue that affects all of us at some point or in some degree, which is leaky skin. Anything from dry, tight feeling after a long day to the dull complexion that just won't improve, never mind what we do. It's a common struggle that we've all faced at some point of our lives, unless we didn't reach that age yet. But we've all faced it. It can happen in obviously in adolescence and later on as well, all throughout our lives. But what exactly is leaky skin, and why does it happen? More importantly, what can we do about it? So, in this podcast, we'll dive into the science behind leaky skin, exploring the factors that contribute to it, and the methods for protecting and strengthening the skin barrier. And I gave you a little clue as to what we can do and what is the culprit there. We'll discuss the role of the skin barrier in maintaining skin health, as well as the impact of age, sun exposure, different type of wavelengths that we're exposed to, not necessarily from the sun, and medications that affect skin barrier function. And we'll also highlight the benefits of using specific products to strength, such as the bio barrier, for example. Anything that we make that has the word bio within it um, will help the skin barrier in some way, and we'll get to why or what in general products to look for, and so how to strengthen the skin barrier and how to help it keep harmful particles, pollutants out. So if you're tired of dealing with dryness, fine lines, and dull complexion, sit back and listen in as we explore the surprising science behind leaky skin. So, what is leaky skin exactly? So, leaky skin is a term used to describe skin that has lost or has a diminished ability to retain moisture, and also has a diminished ability to prevent particles from entering the skin or affecting the skin, not necessarily entering, but also affecting the skin. When this happens, it can lead to a range of skin issues, including dryness, fine lines and wrinkles, inflammation, accelerated aging, a dull complexion, and even things like rosacea atopic dermatitis, and things that are, acne, things that are less um, aging related, but in general, but they do affect our appearance. But what exactly causes leaky skin? So, at its core, leaky skin is caused by damage to the skin barrier. This barrier is responsible for retaining moisture and protecting against harmful pollutants. But when it's compromised, it can no longer effectively do its job. This leads to dryness, fine lines, inflammation, and a dull complexion, as well as a host of other skin conditions, as I said. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be necessarily that now particles can enter the skin more easily. It is also that they can affect the skin more easily. If you've listened to our podcast about senescent cells, then we kind of review how inflammation in the skin created by senescent cells, but inflammation in the skin in general can also affect other parts of our body, such as our brain, and that is because the skin is um, has a function of relaying stressors back to the brain through this brain-skin axis, to what is called the HPA, and affecting our hormone response, among other things. So, by having more stress that is relayed by the skin to the brain, we can actually, you know, create a bad response, not only in our skin, but in the rest of the body as well. So, as we say a lot, it's not necessarily only that whatever we have going on within the body can negatively affect our skin, also vice versa. Okay. So, how can you tell if you have leaky skin? The symptoms can be vary, but often include tightness, dryness, and a lack of radiance. We can also, have a more flaky texture, a rougher texture, but also we can notice that we respond, we respond to things negatively. The skin that responds negatively to things that it didn't respond negatively before, more allergies, redness, irritation, little acne, spots. But all of those really indicate that our skin barrier isn't functioning optimally, what we call leaky skin. And so, again, redness, flakiness, increased irritation. Um, while these symptoms may seem minor, they can have a significant impact on how you feel and how you present yourself to the world, which is, again, the end result of why we want the best performing skin possible, is to obviously to perform the best, or to have the best interaction with ourselves, to feel the best, and to present ourselves in the world in the best way that we can, and perform the best way that we can. So, what can we do to address leaky skin? Well, the first step is to understand the factors that contribute to it. In the next section of our conversation, we'll explore the various factors that can damage the skin's barrier and make it less effective at retaining moisture, and also at protecting against pollutants and irritants. And by understanding these factors, we can then take steps to protect the skin and prevent leaky skin from becoming a chronic issue. So, the factors that contribute to leaky skin. Okay. There are several factors that can contribute to leaky skin, including obviously age, and we'll get into why, but also sun exposure, exposure to other wavelengths that are not emitted from the sun, and certain medications. So let's explore the factors in more detail. First, let's talk about age. So, as we age, our skin naturally loses some of its ability to retain moisture. This is because the skin's barrier becomes thinner and less effective at preventing moisture loss. It can happen also from glycation, which we talk a lot about in this podcast, also because of inflammation that is present in the body. And in general, our skin is less effective at thickening its protective layer. So this can lead to dryness, as we said, fine line, dull complexion, and it can also make the skin more vulnerable to damage from the environment. So obviously that is a major component of leaky skin. But not only age, we also have things that are translated in the end to oxidative stress or free radicals. First and foremost, obviously, UV radiation. So UV rays from the sun, obviously, can cause significant damage to the skin's barrier, leading to leaky skin. And this is because UV rays, first and foremost, they can break collagen and elastin, which are essential components of the skin's barrier. But not only that, so UV rays damage our DNA, and that is as we say, this is the recipe of how the cells should behave. And when this is damaged, then the cells have a huge problem of accessing the information of how to repair themselves, how to repair skin barrier, what components need to be created in order for the skin barrier to be created. So this loss of information also affects us dramatically. And also, UV rays um, create oxidative stress and free radicals in the skin, and that does damage the skin barrier, or interrupts the skin barrier. And in the same way, also blue light, EMF, and pollution, they do the same thing. So they create a lot of oxidative stress. But not when I say oxidative stress and free radicals, oxidative stress or reactive oxygen species are a part of free radicals, but there are other free radicals that are not associated with oxygen, which are nitrogen and carbon free radicals. So we have to keep them in mind. And I'm going to go back to why that is important later on. But as we said, all of those things increase the stress of free radicals in the skin, which any kind of inflammation would interrupt how your skin is repairing itself and including your skin barrier. And finally, let's talk about medication. And we're not going to go very heavily into that, but just as a review, certain medications such as diuretics and cholesterol lowering drugs can also contribute to leaky skin. And this is because drugs can dehydrate the skin, making it more vulnerable to damage and less effective at retaining moisture. Not only that, also cholesterol lowering drugs also basically prevent us from having cholesterol to then use which is an integral part of our skin barrier. So that also obviously affects the ability of our skin to utilize and place cholesterol where we need it, and that is an issue. So, what can you do to protect your skin from these factors? The first step is to limit your exposure to the sun and also to other harmful rays, pollution, etc. If we live in a city, bear in mind that pollution is more dominant than even the sun. And also, we want to expose, if we do want to get some dosage of sun for vitamin D or hormonal support or whatever that is, we want to expose areas that are not constantly exposed, like our face or the back of our hands, the rest of our body as well. Aside from that, we want to expose ourselves either before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. to get more of the beneficial sun rays and less of the UV damage from the sun. You can definitely refer to our other podcasts, like the one I did on our sunblock, to get more information about that. But that is just as a review. Okay, you should also avoid using harsh products around the house, um, harsh cleaning materials. Um, uh, Also, try to wash your clothes with detergent, laundry detergent that does not have plastic around it. Microplastics also tend to exacerbate the damaging effects of on our skin barrier. So keep that in mind. In some cases, you may need to consult with your doctor to find alternative medications to ones that are less likely to contribute to leaky skin. For example, I posted on my social feed recently Andrew Huberman talking about berberine, is, and I recommend the dihydroberberine version, because it also shows that it can lower cholesterol. So bear that in mind. Um, But by understanding the factors that contribute to leaky skin, you can take steps to protect your skin and prevent it from becoming an ongoing issue. I would highly recommend looking at our Bio Shield SPF 40 100% mineral sunscreen, because and I promised I'll go back to different types of free radicals, because not only because it protects you from UV radiation, but it also has an extremely potent antioxidant or free radical scavenger, for that matter, that is called lipochromin 6. And that also protects you not only from oxidative stress, but also from free radicals that are nitrogen and carbon based. And that is something that is extremely rare. And we incorporated some peptides there that help to rebuild the skin barrier. So, as I said, that is always a part of a conversation when we make a product. Um, so, as far as like prevention of skin barrier deterioration, that is a product to keep in mind. But really, the highlight of the product, of a product that we made for skin barrier, is the bio barrier. So, a little bit about the science behind the bio barrier. And maybe before, let's talk a little bit about the science of the skin barrier. So now that we talked about what can damage skin barrier, let's talk about factor in what the skin barrier is made out of, and what are the roles that it is playing. So the skin barrier is made up of several layers of skin cells, as well as lipids, which are natural oils that can help retain moisture. The skin barrier is responsible for retaining moisture and protecting against harmful pollutants such as bacteria, viruses, and allergens, but also, as we said, against the onslaught of the environment, which creates inflammation, oxidative stress, free radicals, etc. When the skin's barrier is compromised, these pollutants and stressors can penetrate the skin and affect the skin and can cause damage. The skin barrier also plays an important role in maintaining the skin's pH balance. The skin's pH is slightly acidic, which helps to keep harmful bacteria in check and protect the skin from damage. When the skin's barrier is compromised, the skin's pH can become unbalanced, leading to a range of skin issues. And that's why a lot of the times when we talk about clean products that are too clean, that may be incompatible with the skin, is because they don't have anything to stabilize the formula, and the formula can become very acidic or very alkaline, and basically damage the skin barrier by damaging the pH balance. So, how do you protect and strengthen the skin's barrier? The first step is to use products that are high quality, and that they do not strip the skin of its natural oils. You can also use products that contain ceramides or different lipids, which are naturally found in the skin and help to strengthen the skin's barrier. Another within those, as I said, the most effective version there is on the market right now is called BioBarrier Serum, which we make, which is designed to help strengthen the skin's barrier and lock in moisture by mimicking the way that your skin would have created skin barrier in the most optimal fashion. And guess what we're incorporating there? You have guessed correctly, the lipochromin 6 antioxidant. So, normally the skin creates vitamin E as its antioxidant for the most part, without getting too specific. But that is, again, it is very important, and we do incorporate vitamin E within BioBarrier. But we wanted to create a superhuman skin barrier, and this is why we have created a something that mimics the optimal creation of skin barrier, plus that super strong antioxidant. So we create a superhuman skin barrier. Um, we lock in moisture. This can be used if you have a very sensitive skin, but you want to use things like our Pro Care Vitamin C serum, or bioretinol, or anything that creates stimulation. So it's a little bit uncomfortable for a skin that's very sensitive. You can use BioBarrier first and still get amazing results with other products or even use it on its own for a while, rebuild your skin barrier, and then start using these things. If you want to use it more as a finishing treatment, but you're not sensitive, the way that I do it, so you do it after applying these serums, so you can get like more stimulation from them, and then use bio barrier, wait a couple minutes until it absorbs completely and kind of sinks into the skin barrier, and then use a moisturizer on top. But this is a good hack. A lot of people are asking us, hey, I love the care moisturizer, I love the ingredients within it, the NAD boosters, etc., but it's not hydrating enough for me. So normally moisturizers, if they're very thick, they're going to be more the semblance of hydration. You're going to feel more hydrated, but your skin cells as a whole are not more hydrated. So by using biobarrier and then um, care, we really raise the natural hydration of the skin, which is mainly predominantly reliant of the skin losing moisture to the environment. And by that, we're biohacking skin hydration. So, a few methods that we can also utilize to strengthen our skin barrier as far as our daily life are concerned. So, first is using products that are high quality, not stripping the skin barrier. We are also going to be looking for products that don't have fragrance. So, fragrance is also negatively impacting it, and can also increase transepidermal water loss, which is one of the indications of leaky skin. Um, we can also use red light therapy, infrared light therapy, because we are getting more mitochondrial function, which improves how our skin creates skin barrier. But we can also use things that might seem counterintuitive in the beginning, but in the end, create a thicker skin, a thicker protective layer. Um, we get like a gym for our skin barrier. First and foremost is retinol. Again, we create bioretinol that is specifically designed to thicken the skin barrier. But retinol in general turns over cells, thickens the skin. So it's very good against fighting against the aging effects, the way that aging thins out the skin barrier. And together with retinol, also doing microneedling is something that would create cellular turnover, thicken the skin, etc., especially if they are used together. So not necessarily in the same time, but these modalities, when a person uses them, these two modalities, they see amazing results. And I can tell you that this is a big part of our conversation here in Young Goose, is with clients is, okay, are you using microneedling? If not, we recommend this and that. A professional at home, we will definitely have to do a podcast about that specifically. But if you go back and listen to our podcast with Daniela, which was our last podcast that we released, we do talk about it there. And in case you're listening to this podcast and we haven't released a podcast with Daniela yet, stay tuned, because we are talking about skin barrier improvement and specifically microneedling in that episode. In addition to using products that protect or improve the skin barrier function and strengthen it, there are several practical tips that you can follow to maintain overall skin health and prevent leaky skin. So, first, be sure to wear sunscreen whenever you're going to be spending time outside. Sunscreen helps protect the skin from harmful UV rays, which can damage the skin's barrier and lead to leaky skin. But also remember, even if we're at night, we're in a city, pollution's always there. We need to make sure we are protecting against that. Again, we created a specific product that provides 360 degrees of environmental protection. But in any case, even if we don't want to use that, we want to use a very strong antioxidant to counteract the pollution aspect, or UV radiation, or or blue light, or EMF, which is there is a specific peptide that is called ectoin that helps with the damage that EMF is causing the skin. And we can't go a full podcast without mentioning drinking water. So drink plenty of water and stay hydrated, because when you're dehydrated, your skin can become dry and dull, which also kind of this accumulation also is creating a more vulnerable protective layer, uh, and a more vulnerable skin that is getting damaged more. So in general, obviously, it's very important for us to stay hydrated. Movement is very important. In general, lymphatic drainage is something that really supports skin barrier because it clears out the aspects, the toxins, etc., that are interrupting the way that we are that our cells function. So that is very important to do as well. So in conclusion, leaky skin is a common struggle that affects many of us and will affect anyone at a certain time in their life. But understanding the science behind it, we can take steps to prevent and maintain overall skin health. And by protecting and strengthening the skin's barrier, like using BioBarrier, BioShield, BioRetinol, microneedling, um, exercise, drinking a lot of water, um, and everything that we mentioned in this episode, we will can leave the skin looking and feeling its best, and you looking and feeling your best and confident and competent, and improve the world. So I really thank you for tuning in to today's podcast on the surprising science behind the leaky skin. Before we end today's episode, I'm going to take some time to answer some listener questions. So the first question is, can leaky? So we took questions that relate to the subject of today's episode, things that people write to us on Instagram, etc. Until we get enough questions, because people know I answer them at the end of the episode. So the first one is, can leaky skin be reversed, or is it a permanent issue once it's developed? And the answer is certainly it can be. It can be reversed. It might be that the more leaky skin is being expressed, so we have more redness, irritation, things that are already create a lot of inflammation and free radicals, etc. It is very difficult, and maybe ending up in even senescent cells. It's going to become more and more difficult and require more seriousness and being less nonchalant about it. But you can definitely, in almost any point that you're at, create positive change and hopefully, again, reverse leaky skin. The second question is, are there any environmental factors beyond sun exposure that can contribute to leaky skin, such as pollution, they were asking, or climate conditions? And so we did answer a little bit about like pollution or blue light in this episode, but climate conditions are a good question because um, dry air is a big factor in leaky skin in general, because it creates an environment that draws moisture from the skin. So it could happen whether it's very hot outside but dry, very cold. Since this is winter in North America right now where we are, we do get a lot of people that use BioBarrier before they go for their jog in the cold or anything like that, or when they go skiing or whatever that is. In general, cold air that is hitting your face is very damaging as far as your skin barrier is concerned. So yeah, definitely climate conditions are a factor in leaky skin. The third question is, can certain foods or dietary changes help or damage leaky skin by supporting or damaging the skin's barrier function? Um, or is this primarily something that is caused from the outside? So yeah, definitely. First of all, dairy can damage skin barrier, but also in leaky gut, which is a huge issue, is directly correlated with leaky skin. So leaky gut will increase inflammation in the skin, increase foreign objects that get to the skin. We know it can create eczema, um, so obviously affecting the skin and skin barrier. So definitely, when we have leaky skin, the first thing we want to take care of is our gut before we do anything else. And then we can take a look at this podcast and figure out what we do for our skin. But yeah, everything first and foremost, we have to have good health, good gut health, brain health before we look at what we can do topically, because these issues are going to be constantly there if not taken care of. And keep, maybe we're going to go to steps forward, but we're going to go one step back. So definitely. So these were the 3 questions for today. If you would like your questions to be answered on this podcast, you can ask your questions in a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we will be sure to answer it on our next episode, or whenever we have an episode that has any type of connection to your question. So please write those reviews. In general, not only that it helps us answer your questions, it also greatly helps the growth of this podcast, making sure that we can improve as many people's skin and lives as we can, which is why we're doing what we're doing here. So thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and I really hope you take your skin barrier seriously. Have a good one.